My name is Pamela Frank. I play the violin, and I'm a jury member here. I'm actually the chair of the jury.
Yeah, so as far as I remember, I know my name is Itamar Golan.
Hello, I'm Henning Kraggerud, Norwegian violinist, composer, viola player, improviser.
I'm Ilya Gringolts, violin player, teacher.
Hi, I'm Josef Špaček, and I'm the juror of the 2018 edition of the Menuhin Competition.
My name is Joji Hattori. I'm 49 years old. I'm a Japanese, but I was raised in Austria. And I'm both a violinist and conductor. And I'm the vice chair of the jury of the Menuhin Competition.
Hi, I'm Siqing. I'm a violinist from China, and also I'm on the jury for the Menuhin Competition.
Hello, my name is Soyoung Yoon, and I'm a violinist, and I'm a member of jury in the Menuhin Competition 2018.
It is fun. It's fun to hear how much different talent there is all over the world, and it's fun to hear how my colleagues hear as well.
Fun. Well, to be a judge maybe is always more fun than to be judged, you know?
Well, I think yes, mostly because you get to meet all your colleagues, your friends. Some of them you don't see for years, and also when you hear really special competitors, youngsters, you get very excited. So I think it's good. Unless it's too long. I think the Menuhin Competition is just perfect. 10 days, I think is perfect.
It is strange feeling.
It is very interesting, it's very stimulating and inspiring sometimes, but I wouldn't call it fun, no, because unfortunately music is not sports, so the purpose of music has nothing to do with putting people in order, and creating prizes only for certain artists.
There's a lot of responsibility involved. It can also be fun. In fact, I was 12 years old at the time. It was 1995, and I actually made it to the finals.
When I was 14 in the junior section, then when I was 18 and when I was 20. Last time I won it, so I needed 3 attempts.
Yes, I did, and twice. First time was 2000, yes, as a junior, the oldest junior. And at that time I was winning this national competition in Korea, and I was quite good student, violin student. And I thought that, okay, this is my first international competition, I will go there and win, for sure. And the first round, I just flew out from the first round. I didn't pass the first round. And then I cried a lot, but I studied really hard. I practiced really a lot. And then 2 years later, I won the competition, so, yeah.
Yes, I did. The very first one, 1983, Folkestone. Yeah, I got 5th prize in the junior section.
My personal decision is what I call the goosebump factor. In other words, if my hair stands on end, I know that person is speaking to me, and then I'm interested in hearing them again.
I strongly believe that they have to tell the story. I want to select someone, I want to look for someone who is telling a story.
Well, I think music is a language, and those who speak to me and my heart, so I'm touched, those I will let on. Even if they do technical mistakes and other things, they need to touch something of value.
Well, as we like to say, it's if someone gets your attention and you want to hear this person again, this is already a good sign. But of course there are other things, there are other factors, and everyone has his or her own kind of set of criteria, which I also have, and that applies to every different style of music that the person is performing.
Well, I would say certain technical security and level is definitely required, but normally with this competition there are more numbers of violinists who have that minimum technical requirement than the number who can proceed to the next round. So for me, then it's much more the interpretation, how interesting somebody's playing is, how inspiring somebody's playing is, and how touching. These are the more important issues.
Stage presence can work both for and against somebody. In other words, if I notice somebody's stage presence more than they're playing, that's not helpful. But if somebody looks like they're not enjoying themselves, I'll notice that too. But ultimately, I mostly close my eyes. I want to hear, not look.
Musical presence is something else. Stage presence, I don't know exactly what you put in that words, but it's the musical presence which counts for me.
Not decisively, but of course it's part of the performance. So we cannot get out of our heads.
It makes them human. I actually enjoy the errors because first of all, it's good to see that we're not machines. We need to be all reminded of our humanity, but also that's just part of life. I mean, it's not brain surgery, so nothing terrible will happen. And sometimes it's actually really interesting to see how people recover. That's almost more important, to see how somebody recovers.
No, absolutely not. We are all human. I mean, hell, if it would really be a very, very boring playing and very mediocre, boring playing, maybe I would pay more attention to the slip-up, yes?
I almost don't remember the slip-ups because they don't interest me. Because if people go for it and they take risks, but it speaks to me. We can tell they're great violinists from the very first few bars. And if they have a small slip-up, it seriously won't change my opinion on that particular player. Of course, we're talking a slip-up. We're not talking about.
Not at all. In a way, it shows just that the person is human, which is great. And I judge everything by how good it is. To put it very, very clear, I believe everyone is at least as good as what the best thing they ever did in their life, and they're probably a lot better if they let themselves. So those people who would say something like "you are never better than your last concert," I choose to believe completely different. I believe the very best thing I hear are at least the level of the person, and I ignore small slip-ups totally.
I guess I'm turned off by what I call showboating and showing off. I get distracted by somebody that's trying to sort of play to the audience. I would rather somebody be so involved in the music that they don't notice the outside.
Tuning loudly. This is so horrible.
I can be bothered by a few things. I don't like if they make a face, if they make a mistake. I also not a huge fan of when sometimes violinists wander around the audience with their eyes, even while they're playing. I think that is something that can be a little bit distracting. But again, those are more minor things.
Well, sleepiness is inevitable when there's jet lag involved, but I always say that with good playing, one cannot be sleepy.
Yes, I do.
Only in two incidents. One is maybe after big lunch, and one if really some competitor play really uninterestingly, I might, thinking of falling asleep.
Yes, I mean, it depends on who is performing, and I mean, of course, even if you get sleepy, it is very much my responsibility not to fall asleep, of course, and still continue to be attentive. But it makes a huge difference. If somebody is playing, it's very interesting, it's impossible to become sleepy.
When I yes.
They should think about all the wonderful musicians in the world who did not win competitions, and that if they have a story to tell, they can tell it, and the world is more open than any time in history.
Well, my advice is, because it's happened to me so many times in my life, and it will happen many more times, I think the very important thing is to know that being sad and upset is totally fine. It's natural human reaction to failure, and it will pass. It takes, for some people it takes a few hours, for some people it takes days, But I think the very most important thing is to stay positive and to keep going and don't give up.
Not to take it personally and continue developing. The good news is that they're all very young, so there's plenty of time to develop, and there will be many more other chances.
I know that they will feel bitter. They all will think that they deserve, and they do deserve it because they worked hard. But this experience that they didn't go to the second round or final, it will bring really a big joy to their heart. So I think they should really keep practicing harder and don't give up.
I would give them the advice to definitely intellectually think about why they didn't get through, and in most cases, whatever was missing can be learned, or it can be improved. But the other thing is, at the end of the day, jurors are human beings, and we're talking about the arts. It's not something you can count with numbers. It's not, a race where you can just look at the time and so on. So it's also a matter of taste. So one shouldn't take losing too seriously in a competition.